Let's get to it. This came out yesterday, and by way of background, look, we know that Trey Hendrickson has wanted a new contract from the Bengals for more than a year, and he hasn't gotten one. Early in the offseason, the Bengals gave him permission to seek a trade. And the goal, as I understood it at the time, was to let him see that no one else out there wanted to give him what he was looking for. Great way for him to get splash of cold water. Sorry, nobody's giving you 35. Nobody's giving you Max Crosby contracts. It's not happening. It's not happening. Well, now that the impasse has continued into training camp, he held out for a while, realized he was wasting $50,000 a day. He shows up, he holds in. We're 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. Now 2 weeks and 6 days until the Bengals play the Browns in Cleveland to start their 2025 regular season. The news came from NFL media that the Bengals are listening to trade offers. And Chris, implied in that, to me, is that there's one or more teams out there that is willing to pay this guy something he would take.
Right.
If it's at the point where the only thing left is getting the Bengals to trade him, I mean, nobody's going to trade for the last year of this contract. Nobody's that dumb to trade for the last year of the contract without having a deal in place with Hendrickson, because you just inherit the Bengals problem.
Right.
So I think that the significance of that news that came out yesterday is we may have found somebody out there that's willing to give Trey Hendrickson whatever he hasn't been able to get from the Bengals.
I would think so. I mean, I would think that's fair to connect those dots right there, right? I mean, we don't know what the exact numbers are. We've guesstimated a little bit. We've heard as far as what he's demanding out there. And obviously the Bengals are just not willing to come up or get anywhere near where Trey Hendrickson feels like he's worth. But, yeah, I think it's fair to say that, Mike, that their teams don't – teams and the Bengals aren't going to listen if they don't like, oh, wait, this isn't going to really happen. So like you said, the fact that they're saying this means that, oh, there's starting to be teams that are giving us offers we like, and they're going to do what Trey Hendrickson wants, to where he's actually going to maybe sign off of it because of the contract you're talking about there, to where, I think it's very fair for reasonable minds to think that, there's something out there for him that appeals to Trey Hendrickson, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's good for him. It stinks for the Bengals. I don't like it for football necessarily, because I like the Bengals, and I like Joe Burrow, and I like when they're good, and I think they're one of those teams that we talk about in the Super Bowl window, but the offense has to carry it. And this is one of the few really proven commodity blue chip guys the Bengals got. And it just doesn't sound like it's going to work out or happen here in Cincinnati this year.
But, they're very big on drafting a guy's replacement just as he's
They are.
Maybe they think Shamar Stewart is going to be the difference maker now that they've gotten his contract situation resolved, which was an unforced error completely for the Bengals. And speaking of unforced errors in the Bengals, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. My concern is that the Bengals will get greedy and put their thumbs on the scales as it relates to what they want for Hendrickson.
Yeah.
And I always believe this. This isn't directed to the Bengals fans, so if you want to get mad at me, find something else. There's plenty. But this is a message that I've had for many teams over the years. If you don't want to pay the guy...
If you don't want to pay the guy in West Virginia didn't pay his internet bill, so you're stuck here with me for now. Oh, there he is. Hey, guy. How are you?
I hear him. Hey, there it is. All right. I don't know what happened. I heard you the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you don't want to pay the guy, then don't hijack the team that does. Like, if you think this guy's worth a first-round pick, why don't you pay him? There is a hypocrisy that creeps into this. Well, we really don't want to pay this guy $35 million a year, but we want you to compensate us as if he's worth that, because you're going to pay him that.
Right.
Yeah, but it becomes the dog chasing its tail, and I could see the Bengals, because it's the Bengals, I could see them bungling this and not getting a deal done because they want more than they should, and they want possibly so much that the reaction will be, why the hell don't you just give the guy the contract?
Yeah.
Somebody else is willing to give him the contract and give you stuff for him. Why don't you just give him the contract?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem that complicated. I mean, it feels like you could give the guy a 2-year deal with somewhere in the market type of yearly average $30+ million a year, and I think he'd take it. I don't think it's like he's looking for 5 years, $165 million or anything like that. That's not what it's about. He just wants to be compensated up into the category of the top-tier pass rushers in football, have some guaranteed money for the next few years. You would think that the Bengals could figure that out. I know they don't go past 1 year of guaranteed money, whatever, right? You got to break down some of these barriers. We talked about this with the Steelers this offseason a little bit. This is the way the world is moving. This is the way the NFL is moving. Now, what I'll say to this too, Mike, where they might get trades they like and stuff like that is that when you look at the landscape, there are teams that I think are in need of pass rusher. We know it's a position of premium in the NFL. It's probably the second most important position in all football other than quarterback. And you look at the landscape of the NFL and you go, man, there's some teams, though, that are pretty good that could use another pass rusher, and it could take them over the top. I mean, and that's where maybe the Bengals get lucky here a little bit. I mean, just in the AFC alone. Listen, we can make a case for Baltimore, even though I doubt that's going to happen. Kansas City, I think, is another place where I'd go, they're not exactly like their front four. I don't look at it as dominant, but I don't know if they would do it either. All right. But then you get into the Chargers. The Chargers have a need there. They do. Across from Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa's not there. Mack is getting, towards the end of his career. The Denver Broncos could be another team you could throw in the mix there. How about the Chicago Bears with his old coach, Dennis Allen? They've been in the market for pass rushers for a while, right? The Washington Commanders. So the Lions. There's teams out there that you go, they really need it, and they're contenders, and that could drive up the price for the Bengals is all I'm saying. Sorry I talked so long there.
If you're the Bengals, you don't trade him in the conference.
No, I would
get him out of the conference.
Right.
Because these teams you're mentioning are teams that are competing with the Bengals. The Bengals are trying to get to a Super Bowl. I'm throwing in the Joe Burrow factor. Like, Joe Burrow's going to be pissed this is going to happen. Joe Burrow's going to be mega pissed if he's got to deal with Trey Hendrickson when he plays the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Chargers or the Broncos. So I think the goal would be get him the hell out of the AFC, send him to a team like the Lions or the Bears or the Commanders, somebody that the Bengals won't see this year on a regular basis because we know they'll see the Bears.
That makes more sense.
And the Lions this year. They're on the schedule as part of the rotation. And I think also you'd want to send him to the team, if you get a contender in the NFC, you want to send him to the least likely contender that he does take over the top.
Yeah,
like I would say send him to the Bears because I don't know that he makes the difference for the Bears that propels them to the Super Bowl in 2025. And you don't want to, especially, and I don't know how far down the road they plan this, but damn it, you don't want to go to the Super Bowl and have to deal with the guy that you traded away, who knows your team, knows your personnel, and you just don't want to deal with him if you can avoid it. Put the graphic back up, please, because I think one of the reasons why there are one or more teams out there willing to pay Trey Hendrickson when there weren't back in the aftermath of the Max Crosby deal, because that's when the Bengals said, go ahead and try to find a trade, because when Crosby got 35-5, Hendrickson's like, come on, I'm at 16, let's go here. Right. Since then, we've had the Garrett and Watt deal. The Danielle Hunter is fugazi. That's the thing I don't like about new money APY. That's fugazi. They put a 1-year thing on the back end. He was underpaid, and it drives up the new money average. I mean, apples to apples, Josh Allen's new money average is $80 million a year. That's that kind of aberration. But it's the 40 and the 41 for Garrett and Watt that I think changed things and made teams more willing to pay Hendrickson what they weren't willing to pay him when he was given the permission to shop himself earlier this year. So that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Will they get it done? And the other reality, we're getting closer to playing time.
Right.
And something's got to give for Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals soon. Because the thing about a hold-in, I wrote this yesterday at PFT, or maybe it was Saturday. At some point, it's got to end. At some point, it's time to go to work. The Bears went through this with Roquan Smith a few years ago. That's the only flaw of the hold-in. Okay, I'm not going to practice until I get my deal. Well, fine, but if we don't already got a deal, at some point we got to go to work.
Yeah.
At some point we got to go.
Right.
At some point it's conduct detrimental to the team to refuse to work because we got a game coming up. And we talked about the acclimation period, the Rashawn Slater injury. When do you put the guy out there and get him ready to play in a game?
Yeah.
We got 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
At some point, we got to go. Whether it's with the Bengals or somebody else, it is time to get ready for week 1.
Yeah, even for him personally. I mean, that's you'd like to get going, so you're in football shape and your body's used to all the contact and the awkward positions it's going to be put in, so you don't have an injury or anything like that. Yeah, that's all for both sides here. You got to go with you. And like you said, it's unlikely in the AFC that it goes there. But man, the NFC, those teams we talked about, the Bears are maybe being the one, but I mean, you saw the Bears last night. There's some things there that you go, like we said last year, they were a Hail Mary away from being 5-2. There's a few parts of that team where you go, they could be a pain in the butt this year. Let's see where it goes. They're building something. Trey Hendrickson seems like he'd fit in the culture there. And of course, like I said, the history with Dennis Allen, but the Commanders have been in the market for that pass rusher, looking for somebody. He was a guy early in the offseason. We thought maybe Myles Garrett could end up with the Commanders, right? I do think there were some conversations there before they gave him the new deal. And then, of course, we know the Lions and their issues there. I mean, we asked for another pass rusher on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson even when he was healthy. Right now, I mean, it sounds like he's close to healthy or 100% nonetheless, but you get a guy like that on the other side there for a 2-year deal, something of that, north of $30 million, man, that changes your football team completely. So that's where I think there could be, some serious talks here between some of these teams and the desperate needs they have at that position.
The Lions have been talking about a possible reunion with Zadarius Smith. He was cut earlier this year because they wanted to avoid the contract he had previously signed with the Browns before he was traded to the Lions during the season. Von Miller did sign a very team-friendly deal with the Commanders, and he's already penciled in as a starter there. But could you imagine they add Trey Hendrickson? I mean, it is kind of the deal that will feel like a lightning strike if it's a contender. And why wouldn't he land with a contender? Because I think a contender is in a
they're going to be the teams
better
that want
position
him.
To justify
right.
A guy on the wrong side of 30. Like, this isn't building for 3 years from now. This is, we have a need right now.
Exactly.
We are going to fill it. Let's go.
Yeah, he's not the guy if you're a young team and you're a startup and you're trying to build something, you want to bring him into town, right? That's not what we're talking about. And I think that's why we're not, the New Orleans Saints, I know he came from there, but they're at no point in their team history right now and where they are to be giving up assets to go get Trey Hendrickson or anything like that. I think that's what you're trying to say there, and I'm with you 100% there. I am. And with Detroit, I would.
What about the Packers?
Yeah, the Packers are one of those that I thought about. You're right, they have, because they got some names and some draft picks, but nobody's really taken over games from that standpoint as far as the edge pass rusher. Rashawn Gary, clearly their best one. He's been a little banged up as of late, right? Maybe not quite performed the way they want him there. That's a team I thought of, Mike, but that just doesn't seem like a move they ever make. That's where it's the Packers, and I thought about it last night before I got really tipsy and crazy. I was just like, I could see it, but they just don't do that usually. And I don't know if the Lions would either, especially with the Aiden Hutchinson contract coming down the pipe as well, to where are they going to want to give him, Hendrickson, a trade, new deal, do that, and then also have Aiden Hutchinson sitting there going, what about me? And I want to be paid, of course, a lot more money than that right there. And I think between that and Micah Parsons and what you're talking about, people know this landscape's about to go to $45 million a year with these pass rushers, and that's why they've changed their tune on Trey Hendrickson, and will pay him $30 million to play here and make a trade to make that happen.
Especially with Parsons due to get his deal, it'll take it to 45. And the reason I mentioned the Packers, now look, there are fascinating things and there are infuriating things about social media, but from time to time there will be a Twitter account that is clearly something that was set up by someone who works for a team and who knows shit and just wants to drop multiple turds in the punch bowl and just have fun. It's just sport. It's just, let's see what we can mess with next. And there's one out there that has been dropping little things that end up coming to fruition that suggested the Packers have an offer on the table for Micah Parsons. And again, it's not vetted, and we have no idea who it is. And it's kind of fun to see if it works, but it's like you can't completely rely on it because you have no idea who it is. But it apparently is somebody who knows things. So that's what made me think of the Packers, because apparently they'd like to try to get Micah Parsons if they could. that's another one that needs to come to a conclusion sooner than later because, again, it's only 17 days for Parsons to be playing in Philadelphia for the Cowboys. You got a few extra days for Hendrickson, and we're going to talk about one of the other hold-ins coming up. But the Packers, it's not in their DNA to do it. They have draft and develop, draft and develop, draft and develop. But it'd be a hell of a way for new team president Ed Policy to put his own thumbprint on the organization if they would do something that we ordinarily don't see the Packers do.
Yeah, it would be incredible. It really would. They have a lot of good, right? They got a first rounder in Lucas Van Ness, who they took on the edge. Rashawn Gary, Devontae Wyatt, a first rounder from Georgia. Of course, Kenny Clark is there, right? Kenny Clark being the best player of the group there. But a lot of good, but maybe not anybody that can take over a game in big moments like we talk about. That I think is maybe we've seen that from them in some of the big games just over the last few years, that nobody on the defensive side of the ball seems to pop in big moments and take over. And it's been running game and Jordan Love, right? The last 2 years is the playoffs. Last year was the running game. The year before that was Jordan Love getting hot and all that. So yeah, I mean, there's a need for it. I could see it, but I don't buy it. I got to see it to believe it for Green Bay to pull the trigger on that one.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.